What if I told you if the biggest barrier to digital pathology in the brain is not technology, but mindset? Is digital pathology good enough for neuropathology? Hi, I'm Dr. Alex, and this video is a little video abstract of a talk I gave at a conference recently. I tackled one of heavily discussed topics in the field. Is digital pathology really ready for brain?
You know, for years, there's been this one big question hanging over the world of pathology. Are digital systems really, truly ready for the most complex tissue we have, the brain? It's a field where every tiny detail matters. So, okay, let's dive right in and see where the technology actually stands today. To read or not to read digitally? That really is the question, isn't it? For so long, the default answer from a lot of people has been, let's wait a bit, it's not quite there yet. But is that caution really based on what's possible today? Or are we just hearing the echoes of old fears? We're going to break down that myth that digital neuropathology is still just something on the horizon. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the myth itself, those old fears. Then we'll cover the tech that basically crushed those hurdles. We'll check in on the regulatory side. Are we actually good to go? Then, the really interesting part, who is already doing this in the real world? And of course, we have to talk about AI because that's a total game changer. And finally, we're going to flip the whole question on its head. Okay, let's start at the beginning. And, to be fair, this whole not ready idea didn't just pop out of thin air. There were some really valid concerns, especially in the early days, that got this whole myth started. I mean, these are the big ones, right? The things that would keep a pathologist up at night. You're worried about losing that hands-on feel of the microscope's fine focus knob. What if the scans aren't consistent? What if my monitor shows a different shade of pink than yours? And of course, the absolute biggest fear of all, what if I miss something? Some incredibly subtle lesion that could change a patient's entire diagnosis. So, while everyone was rightfully debating these fears, the technology didn't just stand still. It was moving, and moving fast. And it turns out that for every single one of those old problems, we now have a rock-solid, validated solution. Let's just take that focal depth issue. We all know how you use the fine focus knob to navigate through different layers of tissue. Well, the digital answer to that is something called Z-stacking. Basically, modern scanners can capture multiple focal planes, just like you would with your microscope. So if you need to focus up and down through a tricky area to make a call, well, that capability is built right in. Okay, what about that other big one? Inconsistent quality or color. This gets handled with a really smart 1-2 punch. First, you have these super standardized quality control pipelines that lock everything down. But the second part is, I think, just brilliant. It's the concept of the self-referencing slide. Think about it. A pathologist is always comparing features within the same image. The relationship between colors, the contrast, that's all preserved. So it doesn't really matter if my monitor is slightly different from yours because the diagnostic information is in the relationships on the slide itself. So the technology is there. It works. But is it actually approved? For real-world clinical and non-clinical work? Because let's be honest, that is a massive hurdle. If the regulators aren't on board, none of this tech really matters for getting things done. And this is the kicker. The FDA is not a roadblock here. Far from it. They've actually put out official guidance that explicitly supports using digital pathology in non-clinical studies. And when an agency like the FDA does that, it's a huge green light. It's basically them saying, we're on board with this, and here's how to do it right. And look, this isn't just some memo they put out. This is happening in the real world. We're talking about data from whole slide images being successfully used in submissions. That means regulators have looked at this digital data, reviewed it, and signed off on it as part of getting new drugs to market. That's proof in the pudding. This is what good laboratory practice, or GLP compliance, looks like today. And it is so important to understand that this isn't just about buying a scanner. It's a whole validated system. We're talking specific, documented protocols for the tricky stuff, like brain and spinal cord, plus comprehensive training and procedures that are ready for regulatory inspection. It's a mature, reliable methodology. Okay, so the tech is solid. Regulators are on board. But is anyone really trusting this for primary diagnosis? Are major institutions betting their reputations and patient outcomes on this? Well, let's take a look at the evidence from the trenches. Just look at this number for a second. Over 8.5 million. That's not a typo. That's how many slides one of the world's leading cancer centers, Memorial Sloan Kettering, has scanned for actual clinical practice. And yes, that absolutely includes neuropathology. This is not some small experiment. This is prime time. And they're not an outlier. This is a full-blown international trend. I mean, Leeds Teaching Hospitals in the UK, they went all in on digital for neuropathology way back in 2018. You've got major hospitals in Granada, Spain, and here in the US, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic. These are household names in medicine, and they've all made the switch. This proves, without a doubt, that it's safe and effective on a global scale. So everything we've talked about so far proves digital can match the microscope. But honestly, that's not the real story here. The real revolution, the thing that changes the entire game, is how digital can dramatically exceed the microscope. And the key to all of it is artificial intelligence. See, the superpower here isn't just looking at an image on a screen, it's that the image is data. It's quantitative. And that's where AI steps in. It takes pathology from being this incredibly skilled but ultimately subjective art and transforms it into a precise, objective science. Suddenly, reproducibility goes through the roof, subjectivity plummets, and the sheer volume of analysis you can do, well, there's just no way a human could ever match it. Let's make this super concrete. Think about G-ratio analysis, for evaluating nerve fiber health. Manually, a pathologist might measure, 400 axons if they're really dedicated. An AI algorithm measures every single detectable axon. Manually, you get a couple of data points. The AI gives you a whole suite of parameters, diameters, areas, circumferences, you name it. It's just fundamentally more data, captured more accurately, and it's perfectly reproducible every single time. So what this all means is that we have to stop thinking of AI analysis as emerging tech. It's not the future. It's here. Right now, it's validated, and for modern data-driven neuropathology, it's quickly becoming an absolute necessity. When you put all this evidence together, it really forces a fundamental shift in perspective. For years, the question has been, are we ready to go digital? But given all the facts, that's just no longer the most relevant question to be asking. This really sums up the whole journey, right? The old technical hurdles, they're solved. The validation and regulatory pathways, they're clear. And the true destination, the real prize, is leveraging AI to unlock quantitative data that leads to better, faster decisions. So, we'll leave you with this thought. The question we need to ask is no longer, can we go digital? The real question, the one we all have to face now, is, can we really afford not to? In this day and age, with the potential for faster, more accurate results and future-ready labs, maybe the biggest risk of all is just standing still.
Thank you so much for watching. It means you are a real digital pathology trailblazer. If you want to learn more about digital pathology, you can check out my book, Digital Pathology 101. It's a practical guide to starting or continuing your digital pathology journey, and you can find the link to the free PDF below. If this video was useful, please do subscribe. We have a goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers on this channel before the end of 2025, and hitting that subscribe button would help us so much. And I talk to you in the next episode.